What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Last weekend I went out and shot the Guardian long range match out at Twisted Barrel Precision. I shot this match a few years ago, and when I seen it was coming to Arkansas, I just knew I had to shoot it. If you're not familiar with the Guardian long range match, it's a precision rifle match that helps raise money and awareness for children in foster care and adoption programs. It's a really cool event to be a part of. I ended up finishing in second place, dropping only 9 points the entire match, and finishing just 1 point away from the overall winner. So I was able to get some footage from the match and put it together for you guys. And instead of just putting music over the match footage, I wanted to sit down here and talk through you guys what was happening on the stages. I'm going to try to break down the stages, talk through what I was seeing, some of the decisions I was making, where I gained points at, where points were lost at, and show you guys how the small mistakes can completely change the match outcome. The footage itself isn't perfect. Some of the stages have rough camera angles, some clips are a little chaotic. I was able to catch some target footage, but I still feel like it's going to make a good breakdown video, especially for new shooters, and maybe help them understand the thought process behind these stages. So stick around and let's get started.
Shooter's ready. Stand by.
So I actually started on stage 9, which is the troop rack. Starting on the KYL rack, then transitioning over to the troop line with targets stretching out beyond 1,000 yards. So starting out on this KYL rack, I could tell that I was impacting a little high on the targets. I thought I could see the impacts and was adjusting my hold lower. A couple of those hits were honestly a little close to the edge, but I still managed to clean the rack. After the KYL rack, we moved out to the troop line targets. This is where things start getting a little more interesting. So I was doing really good, making impacts. My plan was to increase my wind hold a little at a time as we got farther out. But on the second to last target, the 937 yard target, I ended up being a little too aggressive on the wind and sending one off the edge. I seen what happened and immediately come off my wind call and ended up holding straight up at 1,014 yards. That just shows how tricky wind conditions can be, because I was holding 3/10 of wind at 400 yards, but then ended up holding straight up at 1,014. Overall though, getting through the first stage with only dropping 1 point felt pretty good, and definitely helped me settle into the match.
Good run, Robbie. Nice. Good track. All right, Robbie, got you on a 9.
Yep, 1 shot each for 5 positions and 5 arrays.
Shooter ready.
Yep.
Stand by.
So after that we rode in the stage 10, the rock tops. This stage used multiple rock positions, shooting predator and prey targets, starting at around 300 yards and stretching it all the way out to 570 yards. One thing that was a little different at this match compared to our normal precision rifle series matches out here was that the Guardian gave us 2 minutes per stage instead of the normal 90 seconds I was used to. So throughout the match I was actually pretty comfortable slowing down a little bit and really focusing on making good impacts instead of just racing through every position. You can really tell on this stage that I'm moving a little bit slower than normal, but with extra time available there wasn't really much reason to force a bad shot. So the prey targets on this stage was actually pretty small, especially once they started getting out a little farther. But I ended up cleaning this stage and overall felt really good leaving this stage with a clean run. At this point I was starting to build some confidence in myself in the rifle, with this being the first match I'd ever shot with this new rifle.
run, Robbie. All right, shooter, stand by.
So now we've moved over to the truck KYL stage, up on stage 1. On this one you would start off the top of the truck engaging targets at 600 yards. Then you would transition to another plate rack at 800 yards. The biggest thing here was just trying to stay smooth and not get ahead of myself. So I ended up missing the smallest target on the 600 yard rack. And honestly, it wasn't a terrible shot, I just barely missed. Once I transition out to the 800 yard rack, I really focus on trying to see my impacts on the bigger targets so that I can make slight wind corrections to hit the smallest target. Overall, this stage went better than expected. I've never shot well off the top of the truck, so I was pretty excited for only missing the one shot.
Impact! 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 Got you for 9. Come on. Fire up.
Shooter understand course fire.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, big, small.
Shooter ready. Stand by.
Next up was the troop line stage. You would start at 600 yards and work your way out to 1,000 yards, hitting a big and a small target. The small targets on this stage would definitely test your skills. This stage is always a lot harder than it looks because you're constantly changing your elevation, constantly changing the target size, and still trying to remember and manage your wind calls at every yard line. At this point in the match, I was starting to feel pretty settled in behind the rifle. I was really building up some confidence in my wind calls, and everything was just lining up well. I ended up cleaning the stage, which is pretty impressive. And after finishing this one, I realized I had only dropped 2 points for the day so far.
Fixing to say.
I was still thinking and I just couldn't get out of my mouth.
Got you for clean, Robbie.
I like momentarily forgot.
Left, right, move.
Father ready? Correct. Shooter ready.
But my confidence would take a real hit on the next stage, moving on to the PRS Barricade stage. Typically, this is one of the easier stages of the match, and usually it ends up being a race against the clock than anything else, because this is a tiebreaker stage, so most people are trying to shoot it as fast as possible, in case the match points are tied at the end of the day. But during my run on the stage, the wind picked up really bad. I think we were getting gusts of upwards of 18 miles per hour while I was on the clock. You can actually see and hear the wind in the footage. And even
More than what I thought it was.
And even though the targets are only 400 yards, I just couldn't catch up to the conditions. I ended up chasing my wind call the entire stage. Every correction I made felt like I was already wrong before I even broke the shot. So
How am I missing more on a dang PRS Barricade?
Which is actually my worst stage of the entire match. I still can't believe I dropped that many points here. But that's the hardest part about this sport. Figuring out the weather conditions and making the right corrections is what separates the good shooters from the normal shooters. Sometimes all you can do is manage it the best you can and move on to the next stage.
What they make for lunch?
Barbecue chicken and a cheeseburger.
Oh, nice.
That's the best chicken I've had in a long time.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I agree. That's pretty good. Well, I mean, when you got a 18-mile-an-hour gust for about 2 shots. Stages ready?
So
Yep.
next up was the gray pipes and rocks. This stage was a rectangle target stage at 569 yards, shot from the two different props. For my first position, I picked the pipe. Then I would move up to the rocks for my second position. The biggest thing here was building stable positions. Those pipes are actually a little more awkward than they look. I ended up missing the smallest target off of the pipe. Honestly, I think I just barely pushed that shot. But once I moved up onto the rock, everything just seemed to settle in well. And I was actually able to clean all 5 targets from the rocks, including that small little guy on the end that I missed.
See where they're going?
That's one thing you'll notice a lot in PRS style shooting. Sometimes one prop just works a little better than the other. The rocks just felt way more natural and stable compared to the pipe position. Overall, I only dropped the 1 point on this stage, staying in a pretty good spot overall heading into the second half of the match.
Shooter ready?
Yep.
Stand
So
by.
up next was stage 5, the Leopold Barricade and Log Triangle stage. Starting on the Leopold Barricade, engaging a torso rack out at 680 yards. Then transitioning over to the log pile to engage the triangle targets. The torso targets on this stage were actually pretty decent size, which definitely helped on this stage because the wind was still moving around quite a bit. After the first couple of shots, you can actually hear me kind of laughing about it. My first shot hit the left side of the target, then I corrected my next shot to the right side of the target. I just kept trying to make corrections to center up my next shot. At this point, I was just laughing because I was chasing the wind back and forth across the field. Luckily, those torso targets were just big
switching
enough
back and
that even with the wind moving around, I was able to get my impacts. Moving on to the triangle targets, I actually missed the second one. Sometimes those triangle targets can get a little spicy towards the narrow end. I try to favor the wider portion, but I still ended up dropping one a little high. Only dropping one on this stage. I felt pretty good about it because this stage could go bad pretty quickly.
All those are centered up.
Yeah. Yep.
Next
Stand
up was
by.
the rocks and the block stage. This stage was actually supposed to have a moving target, but the moving target wasn't working that day. So we just ended up shooting a KYL rack off 2 positions. I think the targets were around 470 yards. So since this was only one rack at 1 yardage, I decided to build a modified prone position off the top of the blocks. My position was solid and my wind calls were solid, so I was able to run the plate rack pretty quick, making all 5 impacts in the first position. If you notice, once I moved over to the rock, I actually started trying to speed up a little bit.
People get that circle now.
My thought process was that the shots off the block were pretty centered up, so I was trying to get through the rock position before the wind conditions changed. But it didn't work out the way that I wanted. I ended up missing the last 2 shots on the rack. One off one side, then overcorrecting and sending the next one off the other side, which was actually pretty frustrating because I thought that I had a pretty good handle on the wind conditions from the first position. But as soon as I tried to speed things up a little bit, everything fell apart. I was honestly kind of embarrassed by this stage at the end. Looking back, I honestly probably should have slowed down and trust the process instead of trying to outrun the wind. Next up was the Rooftop shootout. This is one of those stages that always kind of intimidates me. The rooftop positions are awkward, the targets are pretty small, and it always feels like one of those stages that could go really bad pretty quickly. But for whatever reason, I always end up shooting this stage pretty well, or at least better than expected. I honestly think part of that's because I know how difficult this stage is, so I naturally just slow myself down and focus harder on making good positions. Sometimes the stages that look the hardest are actually the ones that you concentrate the most on, and things end up working out better because of it. The rooftop itself always feels awkward. Nothing ever feels perfectly stable. So recoil management and staying behind the rifle and making clean trigger breaks is really important here. This stage actually went very well, and I actually had a lot of fun. I ended up cleaning this stage with 0 misses, which definitely felt good, considering this is one of those stages I normally feel the least confidence in.
If it could just stay for just a few more seconds.
Left or right? Even with the wind dicking in, you got him. Shooter, you understand course fire? Shooter ready.
2 shots each position.
Stand by. Engage.
So the final stage of the day for me was this log KYL stage. This is one stage that I've always really enjoyed shooting, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because of the way the positions work or what, but this stage always felt pretty natural to me, and I end up shooting it pretty well. The biggest thing here was rebuilding natural point of aim every time you move positions on the log. Anytime you start forcing the rifle onto the target from awkward positions, things can usually fall apart pretty quickly. But at this point in the match, I knew I had been shooting pretty well today, so the focus was just to stay smooth and not give away any unnecessary points. And I actually ended up cleaning this stage too, which was a really good way to finish up the day.
We're gonna give that to him though. Yes.
All right, our best mill LEO is Robbie Tubbs.
Hey.
Wait, I thought you were retired.
One of these days.
Our third place with an 87 was John Stahalak.
Hey.
Billy Don did have a tiebreaker stage, which is great. With the timers and stuff like that, we all know that's pretty standard. A lot of times, and we've had it before where it's tied, we don't have a tiebreaker stage, and so while we're doing things up, I like to do a breakout drill standing tripod. Throws a lot of people out, and they're like, I've never shot a standing tripod before. But it's fun when you get 40 people all staring at the, who's tied for first and second, and doing a one-shot breakout standing drill. So congratulations, John. There was no ties today. Second place with an 89 was Robbie Tubbs. And first place, it was tight. You guys know how precision rifle matches go. It was tight. First place with a 90 was John Hall. All right.
So overall, I ended up finishing second place at the Guardian match, only dropping 9 points the entire day, and finishing just 1 point behind the overall winner. And when the match is that close, it just makes you start replaying the little moments back in your head, like the win calls that you should have made, the rush corrections that ended up in a miss, or that one target that you barely missed off the edge. Those little things that made the difference in the match. But overall, I'm really happy with the way the match went. This rifle performed great. I felt like I managed the match well all day. And anytime you can stay competitive all the way to the final stage at a match like this, it definitely feels good. And honestly, looking back through the footage, it's kind of crazy how just a couple of mistakes could have really impacted the overall outcome of the match. I just want to give a huge thanks to the Guardian match for putting on such a great event. And of course, Twisted Barrel Precision for hosting the match. These Guardian matches are always really cool to be a part of, knowing they help raise money and awareness for children in foster care and adoption programs. And I really appreciate everyone that stuck around to watch this and support the channel. Hopefully you enjoyed this different style of a breakdown video. If you like this style of stage-by-stage commentary, definitely let me know down in the comments, because I actually had a lot of fun putting this together. And don't forget to go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel, because I have a lot more content coming on the way. And I'll see you guys in the next one.